it under his name?
Just hit the button. We should be live everywhere right now. Just making sure everybody out there, if you're watching this, I'm Corey Miller. We're here with KSDK Sports Director Frank Cusumano. Checking on some technical things right now, though. If you're watching, we'll get to you all in just a second. All right, we are live. We have about 300 people watching right now. I'm Corey Miller, here with Frank Cusumano, KSDK Sports Director, live on Facebook from our houses, like all of you are, or probably are right now, pent up, trying to find something to do. So we thought we'd come on here and talk a little sports, because we're all missing it. Frank's missing it. I'm missing sports. We're doing whatever we can to fill that void. If you guys have comments, you want something for us to talk about, you got a question for Frank, let us have it. We are all ears. I think we're still on. Let me check here. All right, we are on. Jordan and Jacob are watching us. We're all good. First off, Frank, you know they debuted that St. Louis Blues the first 24 hours after they won the Stanley Cup tonight. Some kind of inside stuff. I was just wondering what the whole 24-hour experience after was like for you, because for me it was crazy. We essentially just didn't stop going. Just take me through your right after they won the cup through the next 24 hours.
Well, I can remember going to the Boston airport right after Game 7, real early in the morning, and I think I was alone. And I just decided to splurge. I ordered a big lobster omelet in the Boston airport because I felt like, you know what? Blues won the Stanley Cup. I can have a little lobster here in Boston. Then we got back, and I think I drove right to the station because we had planning meetings, for that parade. But I will say this, Corey. There was a part of me when I got back to St. Louis and I got to the parking spot airport and I got in my car when I was driving back home to take a shower before I went to work, actually. I said, what the hell just happened? I mean, I really did. Are you kidding me? I mean, I've been covering this team for 27 years, and then all of a sudden, it happens. And it was a Game 7 in Boston where they had momentum. I mean, there was a period of time where I thought to myself, what just happened?
Frank, is there any way you could mute? Are you watching this on Facebook?
I am not watching on Facebook.
I'm getting a reverb in my ear here. Maybe it's me. Oh, wait, hold on.
Maybe I'll back off
It's me.
a little bit. Okay.
Hold on, it's me. This is live, everybody. This is what happens. Okay, I'll tell you this. I don't think I slept for 48 hours after they won, because I went back I was staying at a buddy of mine's house in Boston because we ran out of room of places to stay. I stayed up till 2 a.m. writing, went directly to the airport and flew home, and it was just a total whirlwind. We have some questions coming in. People want to know if we're going to see the Blues play again this year. What is your gut feeling right now?
Oh, I think we're going to see hockey, and it may not be till late June, early July. But I think when the season, what will happen, it will be like a little mini training camp, maybe 5 or 6 days to prepare, and then the postseason will start. In my gut feel is that there'll be no more regular season. They'll just start the playoffs as is. And if any team has an advantage, it's the team that just knows how to win. I think the Blues are in great shape because it's more time to rest for Vladimir Tarasenko and that shoulder. And, let's face it, any hockey expert that I've spoken to in the last, months, and you ask them, what's the one thing that could go wrong for the Blues? And the word that comes out of everybody's mouth is fatigue. Well, if you've been resting for a period, fatigue is not going to be a factor. They have the best GM, they have the best coach, and they have players that know how to win. So I think the Blues are poised for another really good Stanley Cup run.
Do you think it's going to be – so you think there'll be a little training camp. Do you think they'll go straight to the playoffs, or are they going to play these few games that were left?
Oh no, they'll go straight to the postseason. You want to make this thing. You need to begin with a splash, and the last thing the Blues need is to be playing. Or the last thing the NHL needs is meaningless games now. No, you go straight to the postseason and get this thing started with some real excitement.
Well, I've heard people say they might not like that because they think it might kind of dilute the cup a little bit. There were only a couple weeks left. I don't know if I totally buy that, but they're going to want to fit this season in. But they've made it a point. They want next season a full season, so they're not going to drag this out too long. So I think you're right on the timeline of events, though. I am starting to get a little worried about baseball here. It just seems like every day we keep thinking it's going to be moved further and further back. They're talking double headers every day, 7 innings, trying some creative stuff. What's your gut feeling there?
Well, I think it would be preposterous for them to think that a 162-game season is imperative. That's insane. It's ridiculous. So what if you play 100 baseball games? That's a big enough sample to determine who the best team is. And you know what? If you have to add another round of the postseason and you have to stretch it a little bit further, that's fine. I'm not wild about the idea of a neutral site World Series. I wouldn't want our Cardinals having to play a World Series in Miami, but we may be forced to do that, Corey, if it's if it's really that late. But look, the issue is you do not have to play a 162-game season. You do not.
I agree, but I am totally in. I love a good doubleheader. I know the players probably don't like it, and I don't think the union would like it a whole heck of a lot, but. I'm down for some doubleheaders, some day-night doubleheaders at Busch Stadium. I think would be a pretty cool thing.
Absolutely, I'm with you there.
Let me see. If we got any other comments in here. If you're just joining us, I'm Corey Miller, here on with KSDK Sports Director Frank Cusumano from both of our houses, just to talk a little sports here on a Sunday night, because we know everybody wants to talk, because we don't have any sports. What do you think about kind of these classic games being rerun this past week? Have you been watching anything like that?
I have watched some on the MLB. Of course, on Friday, I had to, peek in and watch some of the Blues. The Blues are on basically from 7 a.m. to midnight with the 7 games, the All-Star game and the skills competition. That was kind of fun to watch. And I do find myself gravitating to MLB and, watching like the Astros and the Mets in a cool 86 series. What's interesting, too, is that you hear that voice and wait a minute, that's Tim McCarver. I mean, it's hard to believe. Tim McCarver's doing games in 86, and he's doing games in 2020 this season for the Cardinals, too. But he's like the common denominator. Any World Series game you turn on, whether it's ABC, NBC, CBS, Tim McCarver's voice is on it.
That's true. I watched a random Twins and Tigers AL tiebreaker from like 2009 today because I needed some baseball.
I also like some of the 30 for 30s that they're replaying.
Yeah.
OJ Made in America. Some of the Football Life. The story of Jerry Smith of the Washington Redskins was on yesterday. That was compelling. The Dwight Clark story. Yeah, it's a chance to rehash some great journalism in the past, and that's one benefit from this stoppage in the sports world.
Here's what I tell you. I hope they've been getting some pressure. I hope ESPN puts out that Michael Jordan thing sooner rather than later. Well, not the 90s Bulls 10-part series they've got coming out that I think was slated for like June. But they're getting some pressure to move that up because I think that would have people glued to their TVs for 10 straight nights.
Yeah, I see the logic, and I've definitely heard that support also. But if I'm ESPN, I'm thinking, well, this thing's probably going to go on for a while, so we're going to need some great, stuff in June too. But that will be, that's supposed to be some of the best television ever.
Yeah, they got pretty much everybody that you could ever want to hear from about those 90s Bulls. Mostly questions about NHL and MLB here. So everybody keeps asking us, what are we going to do with no sports? And if they tune in every night, hopefully they've been pleasantly surprised. We've got great content. It's not Cardinals and Blues because they're not playing, but you are digging up these great feature stories every night. What's been your favorite one so far to feature here?
Well, it's a couple things. Last week, I think the story of Nafisa Collier and Alex Bizel, the first couple in St. Louis basketball, where Nafisa may be our greatest female basketball player ever, and now Alex is a trainer for the Stars. He works with everybody from, Kyrie Irving. I mean, that's pretty impressive, to Trae Young. He worked with Kobe Bryant's daughter. So that was kind of cool. And this week we got some great things coming along. We have the Kramer Soderbergh story. His heart was broken when his father was unceremoniously let go by St. Louis University. And Kramer thought that he was going to succeed his father at Lindenwood, and that's going to be the rest of his life. But Kramer, at the age of 31, has written a book about faith in sports. It's fascinating. We'll have his story on Monday night. A little bit later, we're going to have the story of Jerry Pollard, one of the outstanding referees in the country, and some of his battles head-to-head with Bob Knight and Bill Self and Bob Huggins. We have some really good stuff coming your way. And then tomorrow, at 5 o'clock, we will begin our list of the 15 greatest players in St. Louis basketball history. The qualification is you had to have gone to a school in the area. So we couldn't put like Bob Pettit or Lenny Wilkins, or Marvin Barnes on the list. But if
we got a pretty diverse list from all over the area too.
In fact, you and I have been talking about this. I have people like Rick Hummel and Earl Austin and Mike Claiborne and Andy Mueller and everybody involved in this. And even to this moment, Corey, as we speak, like on my screen right now, maybe I can turn it around. Those are some of the names right there I've lost sleep to gather this list. And because we wanted to make it representative, a lot of players from the East Side, some players from St. Charles, and we think this is going to be a great list of 15.
Speaking of basketball, we got a question from Justin Rosen. And, this is a fun one for people to talk about all the time, asking if St. Louis is ever possibly going to get an NBA team again, because we see the local kids excelling so much. We know what kind of basketball town this is and what an NBA town it used to be. What do you think that's ever going to happen?
First of all, I happen to know Justin Rosen, and he's one of the outstanding baseball instructors, a part of that outstanding gamer program. Know him well. Secondly, the answer, if I had to guess in my lifetime, I would say no. I don't know if there is an owner out there, a St. Louis guy that's, it's really into basketball that, would want to do this. Now, you could say, what about Dave Stewart from Worldwide Technology, who actually played college basketball, and he certainly has the money to do it. I don't know. I'd love to see it more than anything. I don't want to lose our hockey team, and I think we could do it, but my gut feel is probably not.
I'll tell you this. If somehow we got a team, Bradley Beal and Jason Tatum would do whatever they had to do to get onto that team. Because, Jason, I think, has said out loud before how much he wants a team here because he'd want to play with them. That's really the main reason I'd want a team here, to see those two team up.
Could you imagine if you trotted out Beal at the 2, Jason at the 3, maybe McLemore off the bench, who knows, Caleb Love in a couple of years, he could make it an all St. Louis team. That would be awesome. Yeah.
Mostly Cardinals and Blues stuff here again. Out of all the things that have been canceled and postponed, the one that really just upsets me the most, because everything else is going to continue eventually, but the XFL, especially here in St. Louis, had so much momentum. The Battlehawks were rolling. They were going to put 40,000 people in the Dome that next week, and it's just gone in a flash. We're probably not going to have the same roster next year. That's really the one that kind of bummed me out the most. What's your take on the XFL? Do you think it's going to come back with the same kind of fervor that it had the first time?
Well, I think it has to come back. You can't have those type of television ratings and those attendances, particularly in St. Louis, and say, okay, we're going to give it up. But it's such a shame because you would have had the LA game here and the potential of 45,000. And Corey, I thought the most interesting aspect of the entire saga was this, is after that, I guess it was the second game where they drew 28,000 on one of ESPN's football shows the next day. you heard their panel of experts talking about how, hey, the NFL, it has to notice this. And if the NFL wants to expand, they got to think about St. Louis. Because it goes back to my theory is there's no such thing at all as a bad NFL city. There's only bad NFL owners. And we won the lottery in hell twice. Yeah. We got Bidwell and we got Kroenke with Georgia in between, and she was fine. But yeah, so that was the coolest thing is that, hey, this is really turning some eyes around the country. They're drawing 28,000 for a league that's been around for a month. That's really impressive.
I'll ask you, I think I've asked you this before, but honestly, if the NFL were to ever come back here, I would not want to take another town's team, having gone through that. Expansion team or bust is the only way I'd probably ever get back on board. Do you feel the same way?
Well, I would definitely prefer it. But let me ask you this, Corey. If Shad Khan says, okay, I'm sick of Jacksonville and these lame crowds, and he says, I want to come, can you really say, oh, Shad, we don't want you?
That's about the one situation where I'd think about it, because honestly, I wish he would have just made it happen the first time. But, yeah, that's the one situation I think I'd maybe kind of cave on that. Although I wouldn't be surprised to see them playing in London here in a few years. I think that's where they're pegged.
Possibly, yeah. There's no doubt about it.
Let's see what else we have here. Our fantasy baseball draft got pushed back. We don't know what pick we have yet, but we got to start thinking about who's high on our draft board.
That's true.
I don't think we'll be drafting Carlos Correa again. I don't know if we can have a guy of that character on our team.
Yeah, of all the people involved in the Houston fiasco, for him to be arrogant in defending or in rationalizing what they did, I mean, Corey, this is like it's advice for, husbands. It's advice for athletes in trouble. It's advice for everybody. If you screw up, it's all about humility and asking for forgiveness, and that's not exactly what we saw out of Carlos Correa.
I'll tell you this: with this stoppage, though, I think this is good for the Astros. People aren't going to forget, but it's definitely going to take the heat off them for a little bit, I think.
No doubt about it, because if none of this happened, opening day, everybody, besides looking at their own team, we'd be looking at the Cardinals or Reds. Then the next thing we'd be interested in, how many Astros got hit today? How many of them got beamed today? Yeah, that would have been fun.
Last thing here, I think before we take off, we'll try and do these on Sunday nights if we can, as long as there's no sports around, just so we can maybe kind of have a conversation, talk about some sports on, because I know you're missing it. So maybe we'll do this next Sunday as well. But Frank, how are you keeping yourself? We know how much you love sports. How are you keeping yourself entertained during this time period? What are you doing? Watching?
What's the name of the Tiger movie? What's
Tiger King?
Tiger King. We're 2 episodes into that, sordid, sick, but it's really good. We're enjoying the heck out of it. We're making some strides with Homeland, season 4 of that. Ozark, yes. Season 3, episode 3 or 4 on that one. That's outstanding. And, I'll tell you what, Corey, with all this free time, I'm doing a lot of working out downstairs.
Oh.
And the body, because I'm so old, the body is starting to get sore. So today we just kind of did a soft walk. But it's really great because my daughter, Brooke, is in town. She had to have ACL surgery. So it's great to have her here. And she's helping me out with the technology. And as you know, I need help in technology. And Dom's home from Indiana State, too, so we're eating a lot of meals together. And in terms of the workload, I mean, I don't think it's lighting up. As you know, I'm working you as hard as we can. And because we have, 8, 9, 10 minutes to fill every night. Then on Friday nights, we got 20 minutes to fill. And we don't have any highlights. So it's got to be good features and compelling stuff. And you had a good one last week on Mr. Liddell. So, I mean, I'm excited. I'd much rather be, covering Cardinals and stuff, but I think this is kind of in our wheelhouse at Channel 5, and that's, telling sports stories.
We got some good content every night. So if you guys are flipping off before sports because you think there isn't anything, stick around. We got some good stuff for you. I just want to know when we're going to get Ted or Jack on a cameo in one of these sportscasts.
You want to send Ted over here for a second? Monique, hold on a second. Hold on. Stay right where you are. We'll get, let me get Jack. Hold on. Here we go. Jack, come here.
You can't see the TV.
I'll bring him over. Okay, here we go. This is Jack. He's the kind of the ruggedly handsome one, and he's my guy. We've been spending a lot of time together. I thought, Corey, by the way, I ordered a German Shepherd, but he came out smaller. I don't know why he's this size. We ordered 2 Shepherds and we got 2 small dogs. So.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We'll try and do this on Sunday nights, like I said, just so we can talk some sports. Come with your questions next week. Anything you want to ask. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Hold on.